Now, earlier in Egypt, Germany offered about $500 million to support Egypt's economic program and medium-sized and small businesses in the country. Now, the support will be in the form of grants and concessional funds, according to the Egyptian Ministry of Investment and International Cooperation. The North African country has implemented a string of reforms that have pushed up its currency, the pound about 10% against, of course, the dollar. A foreign currency crisis has also eased in mid-February. The country merged some of its key ministries as part of the reform plan recommended by the International Monetary Fund to access a $12 billion loan. Well, let's get an update from the two countries. Adel El Maroui joins us in Cairo and Guy Henderson joins us in Berlin now. Welcome to you both. Now, Guy, let me start with you. Many view this North African trip, of course, as an attempt by Merkel to show that she's tackling immigration, especially as national elections, of course, are looming in Germany. Are the developments in North Africa enough to shift the electorate back in Germany?
Well, certainly the debate around how many foreigners should be allowed to make a home in Germany is the key issue on the sort of early stages of this election campaign, and it is the asylum and immigration policies of Germany. The Merkel government have been fairly consistent, fundamentally consistent in their approach throughout the migrant crisis. Angela Merkel's approach has been to say you can't put up walls. The only way to solve this problem is to build international cooperation between a number of countries, to build a lasting, sustainable system, if you like. Now, of course, there have been many critics of that policy, people who say that it's all very well and good in principle, but it won't work in practice, and that it hasn't been working in practice. Donald Trump, the US president, has been one of those critics. So the fact that there has been this deal between Tunisia and Germany, I think will be seen as a small victory here. It is just a small number of people, but perhaps is something that the Chancellor can hold up and say, well, you know, this is somewhere where we can make progress. By the same token, she is facing increasing pressure from both a party to the left of her, Christian Democrats, and to the right. And also, there are questions with some of the countries that she's looking to do deals with about what the electorate see as certain moral compromises when it comes to actually completing those kind of deals.
Well, let's talk about the deal with Egypt. And Adele, some say Merkel wanted to replicate the EU's deal with Turkey, where we basically saw Ankara block migrants in exchange for economic aid. Now, President Sisi rejected this idea before. Any insights into the agreements reached on this issue when she was in Egypt?
Well, it has been discussed, and the idea of having refugee camps in Egypt has been put on the table for negotiations and discussions, which Egypt has absolutely rejected. In the press conference that both have been speaking at on Thursday, President El-Sisi stressed that in Egypt, the government prefers that refugees would come to the country and live among the people in a normal life instead of putting them into an extraordinary harsh conditions. That's one side. As for the deal, it has not been struck directly to be part of any immigration deal money or supporting the economy in return to block the flow of migrants. Egypt had a terrible accident late last year where over 200 died when a boat capsized with about 200 illegal migrants on board. Since then, Egypt has taken extreme measures at its Mediterranean Sea security, securing its Mediterranean Sea borders. And since then, there hasn't been any report of illegal migration boat going outside from the Egyptian side.
Now, shifting focus just slightly, Guy, we know this is Merkel's first visit to North Africa in over a decade. Is there any economic interest in the country besides the issue of migration?
Certainly. Big German businesses looking to boost their trade ties with North African countries, perhaps with Egypt in particular, given that it is seen as a relatively stable part of of the continent and a close ally still of many Western countries. We were actually at the annual general meeting of tech giant Siemens just a few weeks ago, and during that annual meeting, what the CEO had described as a mega deal in the energy sector between Siemens, a German company, and Egypt was brought up. It was seen by the company as being extremely beneficial to its fortunes and revenues. So of course, there is this economic interest for Germany, but at the same time, I think even though those business deals do link back to the migration issue and the fact that one of the ways that Germany wants to ensure that less people take that dangerous journey across the Mediterranean is by building business ties, building trade and economic ties, creating stability in these countries so that people don't have to leave in the first place.
Now, Adele, we know Germany offered Egypt about $500 million to support its economic program and, of course, small and medium enterprises there. Now, give us the details of that agreement.
Well, basically, half of it has already been delivered or in the final process of being delivered, the first $250 million. The second half, the other 250, will be submitted in 2018, according to Angela Merkel's press conference with President CGTN. It's basically, the details exactly have not been officially announced, but we're hearing reports from unnamed sources that they will be dedicated. Egypt has decided to dedicate this amount for SMEs, small and medium businesses. Basically, it's part of a national program. Egypt is trying to allocate billions of dollars to support that sector, to stabilize the lower classes, job opportunities through funding such projects. Egypt want to expand greatly. Banks here have been sort of given directions to set a quota of their annual budget to be dedicated to SMEs, whether it's national or private banks. So there is a huge move in the government to push towards that level. For Germany, it's not a big number. Egypt, the Siemens deal that Guy have just mentioned, it's a $6 billion deal for 3 electric generation power plants, 3 of the biggest actually in the world. We're talking about 1,400 megawatts of produced electricity power. So it's a huge deal, and having 250 million with also no guarantees that it will be related to the migration issue, it's not a big number. But it seems that Germany is also here to invest further opportunities for investment. The Suez Canal, Egypt has been trying to promote for the developmental area in the Suez Canal, and Germany might be interested once the economic situation steadies.
Well, we have to leave it there. Many thanks to both of you for those insights. Guy Henderson joining us in Berlin and Adele El Mahoui in Cairo.